Hi guys, I'm Ashleigh Clyde reporting for Kids First, and joining us today are Betsy West and Julie Cohen. They're the directors and writers of the upcoming documentary, My Name is Pauli Murray, releasing October 1st, 2021 on Amazon Prime. Miss West and Miss Cohen are both award-winning filmmakers, and I'm very excited to talk with you guys today. How are you?
We're great, Ashleigh. Good to see you.
Great. So first of all, I'm very curious to know how you guys stumbled upon Pauli Murray's work.
We had done a documentary about Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, and it was Justice Ginsburg who first led us to Pauli Murray in the early 1970s. RBG put Pauli Murray's name on the cover of the brief that she was writing for the Supreme Court, arguing for women's rights. The reason that she did that was not that Pauli had written the brief, but that it was Pauli's ideas that were helping inform Ruth Bader Ginsburg's argument that women should be treated equally with men, or that all genders should be treated equally. So after that film, we started looking into Pauli Murray, and we discovered that Pauli's story just spanned so much more than just women's rights, and we thought, well, Pauli's worth a documentary. Let's go for it.
That's awesome. So I did, in my freshman year of high school, I did a lot of research on historical figures that we were not taught in our classrooms, and I've never come across Pauli Murray. So I'm really curious on your research process during and also before directing this film.
So our research process, as Betsy says, once we became aware of Pauli Murray, we started looking more into Pauli's contributions in a variety of fields. But then the question you ask when you're a filmmaker is like, do we have the material where we could tell this story? Obviously, you could write a book. Some wonderful books have been written by and about Pauli Murray, but is there the stuff that you need to make a film? So we started doing research, and very fortunately for us, and not at all coincidentally, there was quite an extensive archive of Pauli's materials that were saved at the Schlesinger Library at Harvard. The reason those exist is that Pauli Murray understood that even if history wasn't necessarily at the time ready for Pauli, Pauli wanted to be there and ready when society wanted to hear the story. So Pauli had collected, legal writings, diaries, notes, audio tapes, and even some videotapes, photographs, like this extensive, beautiful collection, really just waiting for future researchers and filmmakers to put this magnificent story together.
Well, that's awesome. So you did mention that in the film, it consistently mentions that Pauli Murray was ahead of her time, which I find in a way a little odd, because we were ready for Thurgood Marshall, but we weren't ready for Pauli Murray. We were ready for Rosa Parks, but we weren't ready for Pauli Murray. So I'm curious to know, let's say, in fact, the world was ready for Pauli Murray and her ideals. What would society look like then, and what would it look like now?
Yeah, it's a good question. If people were listening to Pauli early on, I mean, it was in 1940 that Pauli refused to go to the back of a bus, which is 2 decades before Rosa Parks. And Thurgood Marshall actually was involved in that case, which was dismissed and didn't become like a test case for discrimination, which is what Pauli kind of hoped for. Similarly, Pauli got a group of students at Howard together, and they managed to desegregate a cafe near the campus, which was whites only. That was like 1943, again, several decades before the civil rights sit-ins that we all know about. So we might be, 2 decades ahead of ourselves. On the other hand, these things take time, and certainly Pauli's ideas did inform Thurgood Marshall in Brown v. Board of Education. Her ideas about separate but equal just being a total misnomer. You can't have separate and equal. It just doesn't exist. And that was an idea that was pretty radical when Pauli suggested it in her law class in the early 40s, and people were laughing at it. And then we have Brown v. Board of Education in 55. So Pauli did have a major impact to help with the founding of the National Organization for Women, contributed to RBG's arguments, became the first female identified Episcopal priest in the 1970s, on, was always at the forefront.
Yeah, and that's incredible that you touched on all of her accomplishments, or at least some, because she's just incredible. So I was wondering why there's no sign of Pauli Murray in my own education, why I haven't learned about Pauli Murray.
Well, I think we're thinking and hoping that that's something that's about to change. I mean, we are in the process right now as a country of kind of rethinking the way that we teach our own history, and Pauli Murray's story is such a great example of that. And it's our hope that this film is kind of part of the movement to correct those wrongs of the past, and that, the next time, I mean, all of the textbooks that we read in social studies class are written and re-edited and republished every few years. Like in the next round, maybe someone should go in and add Pauli's story. And obviously Pauli's story isn't the only story that needs to be added. Like, let's stop thinking of our history as being like just the guys whose faces are on our dollar bills, and look at the behind the scenes, often much more important contributors to our history.
Yeah, definitely. And I plan on, if I have the opportunity, to definitely put Pauli Murray's story in anyone's head and anyone's mind. And I think that this film will definitely do that. So my last question for you all is, what is the message that you want your audience to really take away from this film?
I think you can't learn about Pauli's story without feeling a little humble yourself and admiring the tenacity and the optimism that drove Pauli Murray. When a door would close, no, you can't come to this school because you're Black. No, you can't come to this school because you're a woman. Pauli always found a way around, and really refused to be victimized by it. Pauli was angry. Pauli pushed against these barriers and yet always found a way around. And I think that's very inspiring.
Yeah, I really do too, especially for me. So I really thank you guys so much, and I really enjoyed the film. So thank you for talking with me.
Hey.
Thank you for watching it, and thanks for interviewing us.
Yeah,
it was terrific.
Thank you.
Send our love to everyone in San Francisco.
San Francisco, that's what
No, I'm actually not in San Francisco.
It's the fake Golden Gate Bridge behind you. Well, it looks good.
Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Pauli Murray.